I heard this story once of this ship that was traveling across the Atlantic Ocean, this sailing ship. So it's a big 3-masted ship. They were trying to get across the Atlantic, and they got into a storm and got completely disoriented. They lost their way. They didn't know where they were. And they were about 100 miles off of the coast of Brazil. But they had been running out of water, and they finally ran out of water, and they were dehydrating. And they didn't know what to do. Well, fortunately, they saw another ship come up, and they signaled over. And they said, "We need water. We're dying here. We need water." And the men on the other ship said, "Cast your buckets down. Cast your buckets down into the water. It's right there." And the guy said, "What are you talking about? We're out in the ocean. We're out in the middle of nowhere. We can't see anything. No land, nothing." They said, "Cast them down. Cast your buckets down." So they finally threw their buckets down, pulled up that water, and drank. And it was beautiful, clear, refreshing, pure water. They were at the mouth of the Amazon River. And the Amazon River is so powerful that it actually pushes out 185 miles into the ocean. So they were on fresh water the entire time. There are so many people in this world that don't realize there's living water available to them. Like these men on the ship, that living water was holding them up. It was right there. All they had to do was dip their buckets down and drink. And there are men and women in this world that don't realize that living water is available to them in the person of Jesus Christ. He wants you to dip your buckets down. He wants you to come to him. So I think one of our problems is that we lack sight. I think another reason we prefer our cisterns is that they satisfy us at first. They do provide some satisfaction, or we wouldn't be trying to drink from them. But it seems that our desires just keep increasing and our pleasures decrease. That's what sin does. Sin seems good at first, doesn't it? But in the end, it destroys and it kills. In the play Les Mis, Fantine has the second song, and she is left destitute, unemployed, and alone. And this is what she sings. She says, "There was a time when men were kind, when their voices were soft and their words inviting. There was a time when love was blind and the world was a song and the song was exciting. There was a time, then it all went wrong. I dreamed a dream in time gone by when hope was high and life worth living. I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. Then I was young and unafraid, and dreams were made and used and wasted. There was no ransom to be paid." In other words, there was no consequences for all her actions. No song unsung, no wine untasted. But the tigers come at night with their voices soft as thunder as they tear your hope apart and they turn your dream to shame. And then the song closes with this: "I had a dream my life would be so different from this hell I'm living, so different now from what it seemed. Now life has killed the dream I dreamed." Life has killed a lot of people's dreams. And I think a lot of people could sing that song with Fantine. There are a lot of people trying to get water out of broken cisterns. And there can be a lot of company down there in those holes. And that kind of makes it all right in our minds. Well, everybody can't be wrong, and if my friends are kind of doing it, then it must be okay. You know, it's easier to prefer things over God if other people are doing those things. You know what the real issue is? I think the real issue is that we don't believe that God will be better than our broken cisterns. You know, it's interesting. God is not saying that the greatest evil that the greatest evil is something the Israelites did. Neither of these evils has to do with doing. The evil was that they forsook a fountain. They abandoned a fountain. They rejected a fountain. You know what they did? They tasted God and they said, I'm not interested. They declared that things satisfy, sex satisfies, money satisfies, vacation satisfy, TV satisfy, friends satisfy, video games, homes, power, winning. These all satisfy, but not God. Now, those things are not wrong in and of themselves. In fact, I think that God has created those things for enjoyment. Where they become wrong is if we place them above God, if they become our gods. If we say, I will look to these things for my satisfaction and not to God. See, these evils aren't primarily about doing something. Doing is secondary. Doing is an overflow of your desires. The problem is our desires. The essence of evil is that we prefer things over God. Our greatest evil is not that we break commandments. It's that we desire something other than God. We prefer the creation over the Creator. We prefer the gifts over the giver. Listen to this quote by John Piper. He says, my problem in life and your problem in life is not that you are pursuing pleasure when you ought to be doing your duty. That is not my or God's or the Bible's assessment of your problem. C.S. Lewis had it exactly right when he says that our problem is that we are far too easily pleased, not that we are pursuing our pleasure too eagerly. He says that we are like children fooling around with mud pies in the slum because we cannot imagine what a holiday at the sea is like. Our problem is that we are clutching tin idols to ourselves when golden reality stands before us. We are far too easily pleased. The problem with the world is not hedonism. It's not seeking our own pleasure. It's the failure of hedonism to go for what is truly satisfying. Do you follow that? The problem isn't that you're seeking your own pleasure. The problem is you're seeking your own pleasure in the wrong spot. You're not seeking your pleasure in God.